celebrate reaching 150 subscribers in our first month, I'm going to dedicate the next 30 days to all Fatayer videos. We'll be making meat pies, spinach pies, cheese pies, and even barbecue pies. We'll also be making Talemis, za'atar Talemis, cheese Talemis, and all of these pies use the same base dough. When I opened my first food cart, it was right next door to this hookah shop, and the owner, Meher, also owned the Sultan Cafe in downtown Portland. And to this day, the best compliment I've ever received as a chef came from him. Even better than when Morgan Freeman said I made the best seafood pasta he'd ever eaten. This pales in comparison to Meher's compliment. He looked around and whispered, "Don't ever tell anyone this. This could get me killed. But your dough is better than my wife's and my mom's." Coming from a Middle Eastern man, that is without a doubt the highest honor a chef could hope to achieve. The first video of the series will be this dough. And now, without further ado, here's how to make the dough. First thing you'll need to do is clarify some butter on low heat. A pound should do. I'm using 4 pounds here because I'm about to record 4 videos using this dough. All we're doing is separating the water and the milk solids from the butter. Some will rise to the top and some will sink to the bottom. We want to skim the stuff that rises to the top and avoid the stuff that sinks to the bottom. Meaning when you go to get your butter out, don't scrape your ladle or measuring cup against the bottom of the pan. While your butter is melting, add 1 tablespoon or 1 packet of yeast to a glass with 3 tablespoons of sugar and mix well with a fork. Then add a 1/4 cup of hot water and let the yeast rise for about 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, it should have at least doubled in size. While your yeast is rising and your butter is melting, add 3 cups of flour to a mixing bowl with 2 teaspoons of medium ground cornmeal. The cornmeal is optional, but I like to add a couple teaspoons because it adds a little bit of crunchy texture to the bread. If you can't find medium ground, regular cornmeal is fine. Also add 1 teaspoon of salt and mix well. Once your yeast is risen, add 3/4 of a cup of clarified butter and mix well with the fork. Now add it to your mixing bowl with 1 cup of hot water and mix on medium for 5 minutes. Then let it rise for 10 to 20 minutes. The longer the better. Now mix on medium for another 5 minutes. Then take your dough and form it into a ball and add 1 teaspoon of oil over the top. Now cover it with plastic wrap and let it sit for 30 to 60 minutes. After the dough is risen, pinch off a little at a time. Form them to make balls about the size of a golf ball and place them on a greased or a non-stick sheet tray, 1 dozen per tray. You should get about 15 to 20 out of 1 batch. Now let your Talemis rise for another 30 to 60 minutes. If you're here for any of the other pie recipes, this is the point where you'd stop and go back to that video now. After they've risen, take 3 fingers and dip them into your clarified butter. Then lightly press the dough down, but not hard enough to smash it. Repeat this process for each Talemi. Now you can choose to let them rise for another 30 to 60 minutes, or you can just bake them now. Whenever you bake them, start them on the bottom rack of your oven for 6 minutes at 425 degrees. After 6 minutes, transfer them to the top rack and let them cook for another 6 minutes. You can also put your second pan on the bottom rack now as well. As soon as you pull them out of the oven, brush them 2 or 3 times with clarified butter. My favorite way to eat them is with some Lebanese spread on it, kind of like a bagel with some cream cheese. Link to that video in the description and in the top right corner. Sometimes I like to put the Lebanese on the side and serve it with za'atar and extra virgin olive oil as well. Link to the za'atar video also in the description and in the top right corner. You just dip the Talami in the olive oil and then in the za'atar and enjoy. Or you can take the Lebanese and dip that in the za'atar. There's no wrong way to eat a Talami. When I was a kid, I used to eat them with jelly and butter. They also make excellent little slider buns. Thanks for watching the first of the Fatayer series. I hope you'll join me for the many videos to come. Up next week is za'atar Talemis. Thanks for watching, everyone. Goodbye, good night, and as always, bah humbug.